What up, Wade here. So I got a special video for you today. It's actually from the vault. It's one of my favorite and was one of the most popular videos on my old YouTube channel. And it's the crude form of what I called at the time the relationship corner, of me getting more into the relationship advice side of things as I started getting experience in my relationship and working with more clients. And it's cool to see like I said, the crude sort of sculpture as it was being molded at the time and how much it's shifted over time, but there's a lot of the same sort of themes there. And so I'm just gonna crack into it. It was in Koh Samui, Thailand, so it has beautiful views. So get ready for some great stuff, and as always, enjoy.
I'm in Koh Samui, Thailand. It's my last day. Airport's here, so I came in from Koh Tao, just take the ferry for a few hours. And I'm getting ready to head out back to the frigid Chicago weather. But what I wanted to talk about today is something that I've been kind of developing this material for a while, mostly because over the last year or two, I've dealt with a lot of guys that broke up with their girlfriends, having issues with that. And then more recently, I've had probably 4 or 5 different friends, really close friends of mine, that had the issue that most people don't even have to run into, and there's really not any material on this that I've been able to find related to when you actually have choice in the type of woman that you could date and how that affects the relationships you build. Because most people, 90-95% of the world, they do not get in a relationship because they're thinking, hey, now I'm gonna decide that this is the one. They're saying, oh my God, is this the best I can get? I'm just gonna settle for this, and settling for that complacency or mediocrity. How do most guys get in a relationship if they, have an abundance or choice with women? They kind of get with one girl here, they're kind of getting with a bunch of different girls, and all of a sudden they're saying, hey, this girl's pretty cool. Maybe I could spend a little bit more time with her, but I'll kind of keep my options open, and I'm not gonna tell her I wanna get serious, and I'm gonna wait for her to tell me and say, hey, what are we? And then all of a sudden I can be maybe to make that decision then, maybe not, and all of a sudden, blah, blah, blah. And what ends up happening is that's kind of a good thing to start. So I'll tell you why this is a good thing, but why there's a whole nother level here. It's good from the perspective that it keeps her on her toes. It keeps her chasing you. And because you're just such a high value guy with full choice abundance that you could probably get another woman like her, maybe even better, or have 3 of them running around, is that it, like I said, it really gets her to basically do whatever you want her to do. And she'll kind of put up with whatever because she's not gonna find another guy as awesome as you are. And that's great for a couple of years. But what happens is after about a year or 2 of that, girls start saying things like, I always feel like I'm walking on eggshells around you and I can never make a mistake because if I do anything wrong at all, you're just gonna get up and leave. And the thing is I had multiple girls say that to me and I was thinking, well, hell, it's true. Because if you mess up, I'll go find someone better. And from one perspective, it's like, oh man, it's awesome if you have that choice and you have that power. But think about this from the girl's perspective. And the girl, if you think about the David Data whole concept and everything, is that the woman, relationships, her man is everything to her. Guys, we're about significance, freedom, taking action. We'll talk about this a little bit more in a second. So it's not as important, that whole relationship thing, as it is to a woman. But think about if her most important thing in life is literally every single day, she's afraid of losing it. The biggest thing she's afraid of losing. That's like, let's say you have this like $10 million business, yet every single day, there's the ability somebody could just go, never mind, boom, and you're out. And think about how much stress that would create, how emotional you would get, easily emotional, how stifled you'd be, and really you could never be yourself or speak your mind because you're afraid. You're literally scared to kind of step up and own yourself there because if you do, the guy might leave. And so, like I said, when I was running through this issue where I had 2 or 3 girls in a row and they all said, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells around you. I asked some of my mentors and they're like, yeah, that's how it's fucking supposed to be, dude. But at the end of the day, think about why you're getting in a relationship. Are you getting in a relationship to really have this, basically like a submissive dog where all she does is follow you around and do whatever you tell her to do? Or do you want the sort of relationship where 1 + 1 = 100, where there's that synergy, where you're growing together and she can give you advice and you can learn from her and you can grow together and all these amazing things? I think for sure, as long as you get stuck in that mentality where I'm the shit, I'm the social value, I'm the awesome one, and you're not equal to me, it's only gonna create that issue where she's gonna feel so, like, she's gonna let you kind of walk all over here, I'll walk all over her. And another issue that comes into that, which I've seen a lot of times, is that because she doesn't want to assert her boundaries, she kind of lets whatever happen. And then it's just human nature that the guy's gonna say, well, she didn't care about that, because she didn't speak up about it. Well, let me just push a little bit further. Oh, she didn't care about that either. Oh, maybe you go off on some trip, you meet some girl, and she finds out about it even, but she just kind of puts up with it. In the back of your head on an unconscious level, you're saying, well, she didn't care that time. I guess I'll just do it again. And it's not because you're a bad person. It's just she never pushed back. And the only way she's gonna feel comfortable pushing back is if you can create an equal sort of relationship here, and we'll get into this. And so I would say, if I look at, again, going back to the pickup mindset, when you meet that girl the first night, it's gotta be all value. I'm the shit, I'm the boss, unapologetic, unreactive, I'm infinitely better, because you're kind of trying to balance out the game there, whereas normally she's just got so much social value in that sort of situation. But then if at some point you say, hey, this girl's really cool, I need to all of a sudden flip the script here a little bit, not entirely and become a total like little bitch or something like that, where you just give her everything, but you need to create an environment where she feels that she can speak her mind, where she feels that she, and not falling into those competitive things. I remember sometimes I'd be like, well, I did this fucking awesome shit, blah, 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 blah. Or guys that try to create jealousy. They're thinking, you're with this girl for a year and you still have to show her, like, when you're out, that girls are into you. Like, oh, look I'm a man of choice here. It's like, dude, she's been with you for a fucking year. Jealousy is the worst thing you can do in a relationship at that time. All it does is, it's just mean. Okay, so on the topic of boundaries, I think another issue that I had was when I was single, you're going out all the time, you're meeting multiple women at night, and you're trying to screen for the right one, not putting up with any sort of bullshit, because that conveys a lot of dominant masculine qualities, traits, awesome sort of things, is that when I got in a relationship, because I had a lot of choice, whenever she did do something wrong, I'm like, it's over. And I feel that actually I probably ruined a few relationships, or I wouldn't say ruined, but I ended a lot of relationships sooner than I probably could have, because I just had that cutthroat, like, nope, you messed up, it's over. And again, that's kind of her walking on the eggshell sort of thing. You gotta realize people are humans and realize what mistakes are. And here's kind of a better filter, I think, to analyze a mistake of sorts. Of course, at some point, some are just too extreme. She goes off, she cheats on you, some crazy shit happens, where it kind of passes one of your boundaries. That's gotta be, yeah, that's a deal breaker, that's a red flag. But also with any sort of behavior that she has, going back again to the David data, where she is a mirror of you and anything she does is most likely on some level reacting to you because you're such a primary focus in her own life, is that you gotta take responsibility for everything. So if my girl kind of freaks out or gets emotional or something like that, the first thing I always do, I don't identify with it, but I take full responsibility, because then I can be in control and I can say, okay, what made this sort of thing happen? And what, maybe at the end of the day, ultimate responsibility is, did I choose the right woman? And maybe it was, hey, the biggest lesson to learn here is I should have screened earlier on and not got with this girl, I should have got with something else or someone else. But related to, if that's not the case, just in the relationship, how to make it healthier, how to make it better, is when something kind of happens, something blows up, say, okay, what could I have done differently to where I would, this wouldn't have happened? And I think of an example for myself with my girl, she was off, she spends an hour or 2 hours doing her makeup sometimes, and we're on a vacation in Santorini, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go on my computer for a little bit. Going on the computer, getting some emails done, all sort of stuff. And she comes out and starts crying, and I'm thinking, what the fuck, why is she emotional? She's like, all you're doing is working. And in my head I'm thinking, God damn it, how do you think I paid for this trip? It's through working, and you're pissed at me, we're out in paradise, amazing. And then I said, hold on, let me take a step back here and take responsibility. And through that, realize, instead of, it's not just like, hey, this is a deal breaker. It did cross my mind a little bit, like, oh, I could bring a different girl down to Santorini. But it's not about that abundance, it's not about the choice. It's about you learning the lesson to become a better boyfriend and saying, okay, what could I have done differently? And ultimately, all it comes down to usually is just communicating better. Me saying, hey, the reason I was doing this is just because you were doing your makeup and I thought I could kill two birds with one stone. And then when you're done, I'm not gonna keep on working. It's not a higher priority than you during this vacation. It's just something I can do really quick, get it over with. It's out of my mind and I can actually enjoy my time better with you. And then now that she sees how it's win-win, everything's good. And this isn't a video about getting into communication with your girlfriend. That's a whole nother, it's gonna be a whole dating product itself on communication with women. But related to this specifically of boundaries, is like I said, you need to take a step back, be objective and say, okay, let me take responsibility here. She got close to a boundary. What can I learn from this? And how can I just make sure this pattern doesn't happen again? Anything can happen once, I say it all the time. It can happen once if it's not too extreme, but let's just not make this a consistent pattern. And if I communicate to you and it still becomes a pattern, then that's a deal breaker. And that's when you hit the personal boundary where I can break things. All right, next up we have integrity. And there's all sorts of different definitions for integrity, basically not lying, but there's kind of another level where integrity of integral, as in 100%, where even if you're not lying, but you're not telling the whole truth, nothing but the truth, on some level you're still compartmentalizing a bit. Whatever I do, if I'm on vacation and I'm off by myself or with my friends and whatever they're doing, I want that when I go home or when I call her up, I can just say everything. I don't have to hide these certain little things. And why is that important? For me, it's important because the sole reason I'm in a relationship, well, one of many reasons I'm important, and one of the primary reasons, not that I'm important, the reasons that it's important for me to be in a relationship is because, as I said before, the girl is a mirror of you, and also from the perspective that she sees you more than anyone. And one of the most important human qualities is to feel understood. And let me tell you, whatever your friends understand about you and all the work that you put in, you're not having sex, hopefully, with your friends, but you are with this girl, and that creates such an intimate connection that, and especially if you can become vulnerable, and we'll talk about that in a second too, that she has such a better understanding of everything that goes into all the work that you do. And then when you have success, like I have a huge product launch and it goes well, and she's like, oh, congratulations. I know that she understands it better than anyone what I went through, and that reflection of somebody else seeing you and understanding you on such a deep level is selfishly, and this is super selfish, that I don't want to ruin that. And I would say on the grand scheme of things, if you're in your 20s, that is the time to just have some fun, to kind of taste all the flavors of the rainbow, have those experiences, and then kind of as you get in your 30s, when you've had a lot of experience, you know, whatever that means to you, whatever kind of quantity you need, it's awesome because you get to this point where, for me, like I said, I'm on this beach right now, see some pretty hot girls in bikinis from Australia and kind of all over the place. But truthfully, I look at that and I say, you know what, I've had that. I've had that. That was what my 20s were for, traveling the world, having a lot of fun. And it's just not a primary focus for me. And I know a lot of guys watching this video, they can't even understand that or resonate. They're like, no, but isn't it true that, but I'm a man. I'm never gonna be able to like slay the beast, get rid of that. It's like, no, dude. You're probably in your 20s and your testosterone's like through the fucking roof. For me, I have, you know, and I've had that time in my life for close to a decade where my primary focus, every single thing I did, everything when I drank a water over Coke, I was like, oh, this will maybe give me more girls when I go out tonight, six pack, yeah. And my primary filter was so much about women. And when that shifted, certain decisions, I would say, became easier, especially related to when I was in a relationship, not going off and running around with other girls, because my primary focus was business. And now, so when I'm thinking, when I'm with my girl, like I said, the reason I'm bringing this up, because so many guys, when you have that choice, when you have that abundance, you're thinking, okay, I could just go on the beach, I could just grab that girl right now, make out with her, whatever. And it's like, cool, maybe you could, but it's not about like willpower, discipline. I'm thinking, man, I don't want to compromise selfishly for myself, the relationship, for the reasons I talked about before, but also I don't want to go back to running around a nightclub 4 nights a week. Good God, that's the last thing in the world. I'd rather go asexual and just fucking be on my computer all the time, because the amount of potential that I have there, and again, because my primary focus for me is about my business and all that, and creating that impact with the clients and becoming a better coach. So what happens is over time, as your primary focus shifts, then like I said, that decision becomes easier. So that might not mean anything to you right now. You might be thinking, well, I don't get this. My primary focus, all I want is girls, 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 girls. That's all I'm thinking about. Cool, there's your answer. Don't ask me, don't ask someone else, don't ask your friends for the answer of, hey, should I get with this girl? Is this like the right move? You gotta make that, gotta make that decision for yourself. And I guess I would say, just to kind of finalize this little point here, is also realize that whatever your primary filter is, there's kind of like a long-term inertia with that, in that usually, okay, let's say, you know, for me, when I just got into meeting girls, all my friends that, you know, I just found other guys that were good with girls, and I started traveling to meet more girls, and my lifestyle and even my job and everything was just totally orchestrated to have that just feed as much as that as possible and get as much growth there. And then all of a sudden when I decided, hey, I want to get in a relationship, all my friends were like, dude, don't be a fucking pussy, that shit's lame, like, and you got to realize that you chose those friends from that primary filter, and that doesn't mean you can keep those friends, but you just got to filter their side of things and say, okay, I see where they're coming from, but it's coming from their worldview, and mine has shifted now. All right, and so to finalize here, I want to say, I'm not trying to say by any means get in a relationship. I'm saying if you are in one, try to watch out and not make these sort of mistakes that I'm talking about here. And if you're thinking about getting in one and you're saying, hey, when's the right time? No one can tell you that. Think about your primary focus, and then when all of a sudden it happens, try to not fall into these traps or these mistakes or bad habits that I've seen some of my closest friends get into. When you have that choice, it's a lovely thing. It's the best skill that I think I've ever developed, was the ability to have choice with the type of woman that I wanted to date. But let me tell you, from there, boom, take that and you can at some point get an awesome relationship. I hope that helps you out. I would love to get some feedback on this because, like I said, at some point I think I would like to even make it more fleshed out into a huge sort of thing. So let me know what you think. As always, enjoy and enjoy the view. I just noticed something, so have some fun. Boom.